Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the seventh episode of Keeping It on the DL. My name's Dave. His name's Lambert. We got quite the show for you today. We got quite the show. We're going to talk about The Last of Us, episode one of the HBO series, and how phenomenal that was. And then we'll transition over into some NFL playoff stuff, man. It was an epic wildcard weekend. I'm sorry, epic super wildcard weekend, because that's what we have to call it now. Can't just keep it wild card. But it was an epic weekend. A lot of great games that went down. And we'll talk about the upcoming games for this upcoming weekend. And as always, man, do all the YouTube stuff. Give it a like. Let us know what you think. Subscribe to the channel. All that fun stuff. And hey, Broncos country, let's ride.
That's it.
Is that ever gonna get old? I feel like it won't. I feel like it won't.
Probably.
I don't know, man. I feel like I'll be saying that like 5 years from now. But anywho, Mr. Lambert.
Yeah.
How we doing, buddy?
Hanging in there, man. No problemos. Yourself?
Good. Not too shabby, man. Not too shabby. I've had the week off from work, as you know. So like I've just been chilling, man. I've been doing some cleaning. I reorganized my room a little bit.
That sounds really boring.
Yeah, it's a little boring, not gonna lie, but it looks nice, and I'm happy about that. So there is that. Started working out again. I'm a little sore,
Nice.
but you
Yeah,
know
also
we're
sounds
just
kind of boring.
yeah. I mean, we're just chilling, man. We're just chilling. We're vibing. I needed a week to just kind of vibe and do a little bit of housework. You know what I mean? So, but that's where we're at. But anywho, The Last of Us Part 1,
Yes.
Episode 1.
Yeah.
Whew. Oh boy.
Yeah.
By the way, spoilers here for anybody who hasn't seen it yet. So if you haven't, skip ahead. Maybe I'll put a timestamp in on the screen to let you know when it's when we're done talking about it. But man, hell of an episode. What yeah, you get
I just tried sleeping a Genji and he fucking blocked it into me and I slept myself. It's fine.
Okay. What's give me your thoughts on what you thought of the episode.
Um, I thought it was very well done. Um, I think they did a lot of things right, and I think they're doing a cool thing, sort of changing small details about the story while still keeping the plot intact because it kind of keeps it fresh
Sure.
for people who have played the game, you know. So
Sure.
um, I liked it a lot. Though I thought it was really well made. I think most people agree with that. There are some things where I'm like, eh. For example, I actually don't like most of the casting so far, but I think most of them did pretty well. Especially Tommy's actor. I think he did an insane
He's
job.
awesome.
But Pedro as Joel, I think he did overall pretty good. I think,
I love him, so I'm more than okay with that.
yep, I think he did a decent job. Although I feel like I don't know, there's like something, just a little something off about it. But we'll see later episodes.
Okay.
It's so new still. The
Yeah.
one character I didn't like, funny enough, the most was I did not like Bella's portrayal of Ellie. Just really, I seemed a little forced to me. I'll be honest. But
Hmm.
other than just that one little pet peeve, I think the overall pacing is good. I think the characters all look good. Um, and again, they have a perfect recipe for success. They just have to stick to the game, and as long as they do that, I think the series is going to be extremely good going forward. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, I loved it. A long episode. right. I did not expect it to be like, well, it was almost what, an hour and a half.
It was very
Um,
long. Yeah.
yeah, I did not expect it to be that long. I was thinking like, maybe an hour. But I think you hit the nail on the head. The pacing was great. I think the fact that they kept it pretty close to the game. Um, they might have made some little tweaks here and there, obviously. Um, but the fact that they kept it pretty close to the game, which the, the first Last of Us game is an incredible game and one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's so good isn't even the actual gameplay. It is the story that makes it that damn good. Um, the gameplay isn't bad by any means, but the gameplay is pretty basic. It truly is that story that like really just draws you into it and makes you just go, "Wow, this is incredible." Um, but yeah, I don't know, man. I loved it. Casting wise, I think I'm actually pretty okay with it. I don't really have any complaints. Ellie, we'll see. We'll see. I see what you mean by it, like kind of feeling forced in some ways,
Yeah. It just seems a little bit. Um. Yeah. I
almost
don't know
like a
the word
little
for it.
too over the top.
Yeah. Like she's trying too hard.
Yeah.
Um.
I
I
do
think
see what
she
you
still
mean.
did a decent job, but just
Yes.
not. I think she's so far the weakest character in the show so far.
Yeah, which hopefully that doesn't continue, considering the fact
Yeah,
that
because
that's one of
obviously
the
she's
one of the two main characters in the show. But yeah, I don't know, man. I do enjoy it. I think I even think she's still good, and I'll agree with you. I do think it's a little forced. But like all in all, still not bad. Um, I love Tommy. I think you know his character or the his actor is awesome. Even Joel, honestly, like I have no complaints there.
Yeah.
Um, Tess, I'm a little iffy on. Um,
Really, I think I like Tess pretty much.
like I like her, but I like part of me is also like, I don't know. I don't know. It's weird. I can't figure it out. Can't get a vibe. But yeah, I mean, all in all, the storytelling, just everything about it, man. It's just absolutely incredible. I loved, um, I loved the one shot, like the one shot camera scene that like they did of the back of the truck, just like the video game. Um, that was phenomenal. Um, and just very well done from a cinematography standpoint.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Especially the end of the episode with the just the rain and like the buildings.
yeah,
They represented that really really
yeah,
well. You can
yeah.
tell the show's very high budget.
Yes. Oh, definitely. Um, but yeah, man, I love that. I loved everything about it, honestly. I don't think I really truly have a single complaint.
Hmm.
I think everything about it from beginning to end was fantastic. Um, I think, I think as a whole, it's just only gonna get better. Um, as long as they continue to stick with the video game storyline, which for people like us who have played the game multiple times and know the story and everything like that, like there's almost that slight concern with stuff like that, but again, with a story that's this rich and it's just that incredible, um, yeah, I just don't know. I don't know how you could potentially even try to change that up and expect it to be better. So
Yeah, it'd be very hard to f it up.
yeah,
The only thing I'm interested in, so in I remember the game like the back of my hand, basically. So
same.
slight spoilers. I'll go into details here, but so in the game, what the fuck was that guy's name that ripped off Tess? Forget his name.
Robert, right?
Robert, that was it.
Yeah.
Robert, in the game, you and Tesco and you kill all his guys, right, through
Right.
combat.
Yeah.
And and then you kill Robert. In the show, Marlene, the Fireflies,
Yeah.
kill all of Robert's guys. And I just
Right.
wonder why they chose that small change. And it's just making me wonder how they're going to storytell the combat scenes going forward. Because there's obviously a lot of them.
Yeah.
So I I'm very interested to see how they actually handle that stuff going forward, because if they just skip every single fight encounter, I feel like it might take away from like some of the, I guess, danger that the world is supposed to represent, you know?
Sure.
Um if they just skip everything like that. But so we'll see pacing. I think I saw it's 9. Is the show 9 or 10 episodes? I
I
think I
actually
saw
don't know.
somewhere they had 9 episodes, which is kind of
Yeah,
weird,
I
but
honestly have no idea.
we'll see. I don't know if all will be an hour and a half long.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's you bring up a valid point. Like, and it kind of makes sense because, like, think about like I don't know about you, but there's been times where I've gone on YouTube and I've looked up like, you know, GTA story or like Red Dead story, God of War story, whatever, right? Like, I've gone up and gone on YouTube and I've looked up those, and obviously there's some people who put together all the cinematics for the game and they cut out the combat, or they'll include the combat. And sometimes those combat scenes in some of those games can take a long time.
No doubt.
And The Last of Us is no different. Like a lot of times there was, you'd be doing something, you'd be there for like 20 minutes. You know what I mean? So like, I think, obviously to a degree there has to be that level of combat, still in the show. Um, Because you're right. If you take that out, you're right. It takes away like part of that danger, right? As far as that environment, other than you realizing that okay, there's a bunch of infected people, and you have this government that has become, you know, totalitarian, and you got a rebellion that's trying to overthrow 'em. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like other than that, you have no fucking idea. Um, so like, and I think we'll see more of that, right? And like they showed a sneak peek at like the end of the episode,
Mhm.
for upcoming episodes. And like in some of the sneak peeks, like they did, I think they kind of gave away some of that. Like you're gonna start seeing some more combat as we go forward. I think this
Yeah.
episode was just all about let me introduce you to these people if you don't know these people kind of deal.
Yeah, it makes
And
sense.
try to just set up what the story is going to become. Because even if you think back to the game itself, that first, that I mean, that's like the whole Robert thing. Like that is your first taste of combat in the game. So that entire experience is literally just almost like a tutorial in a way,
Mhm.
to sit there and get you introduced to the combat, understand how the combat works in the game, and things like that. So I think from a film perspective, like yeah, you can skip over that. It makes it a completely different dynamic and almost makes the whole Robert dying thing mean nothing. Which in the grand scheme of things, yeah, it does kind of mean nothing. But um, it was a weird segue. I think is what it did. I think it kind of created this weird transition into the Fireflies, and you know
They just sort of instantly got introduced.
yeah. Um, Even though they already knew each other, which you find that out in the game as well, obviously. But like
Yeah.
the transitioning of that is, I think, handled better in the video game than the show. Um, but as a whole, though, I mean, I loved it. I loved the way they did everything.
Yep.
Um,
Definitely the best live action of a video game, I think, so far.
yeah,
No
yeah, no,
doubt.
without question. And we're only an episode in. Like that's
Yeah.
what's crazy.
True.
But The scene, obviously, the scene in the beginning, where Joel's daughter gets shot. Um, Man, that hit me in the feels all over again.
Yeah, they did that pretty well.
It got me
That
again,
was
dude.
another character I thought this, Sarah's actor was really good.
Oh, she was phenomenal. Yeah, she was fantastic. Um, it's funny, man. I was watching it with the girlfriend, and she's like, "Man, I really like her." I'm like, "Yeah, me too."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, and yeah, and it's just, man, it was funny because like watching the show and watching that moment,
Mhm.
um, really made me sit there, and I felt like I was reliving the first time I ever played the game. Um, and like the first time I ever played the game, I'll never forget it. Like I had no it was like when that game came out, it was around the time of like the whole zombie thing was becoming really big, right? And yeah, The Walking Dead was obviously getting really, really popular. Um and the whole just zombie genre as a whole was you were seeing quite a bit of it.
Yep.
And I was never into it. I never really cared for it. To me, it was always the same, and like, oh, these people get infected, and now it spreads everywhere, and now you got to try to overcome it. It was always the same routine, right?
Mhm.
Um, so I was never into it. It never interested me, and I was over at my brother's house, and he had The Last of Us, and he's like, dude, you got to play this game. I'm like, I don't want to. I'm not interested. He's like, I'm telling you, man, gotta play this game. I'm like, all right, fine. I'll play it for like 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And obviously, as you remember, the first 10 minutes of the game is that opening, right? Is the whole
The intro that gets you just hooked as fuck. Yeah.
right. Like the outbreak happens, and then you know, Sarah getting shot and stuff. Like that's the first 10 minutes. And dude, when that happened, I sat there for 3 hours playing that game. I was like, holy shit, this game is so good.
Yep.
Because it just hooks you right away. Um,
Yeah, the story's so well done.
and that's what the show is doing so far too, is that it really does make you get invested into these characters all over again. Um, even if you have played through the game a million times, or again, if you're somebody that's new to the entire experience. Um,
Yep. I mean, there's
Man,
even, like,
love it.
new things that the show did though too, like like, when they finally go to the 20-year time skip and you
Yeah,
see the scene with the kid, like, that
yeah.
wasn't in the game, you know? So,
No, right?
obviously, they're still gonna be keeping things fresh with, like, little
Yeah,
added scenes,
yeah.
which I'm all
Even
about.
even same. Even the stuff with the neighbors, right? Like none of that was in the game.
Oh, yeah, very
Um,
true. Yeah, 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 in the game, he just, like, calls them the Coopers or whatever, which I'm assuming is, I guess, what they're meant to be, but you never show
right,
anything other than
right.
just him being shot, so
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
cool to sort of get that characterization of them as well.
yeah. Even the whole thing with the watch, even right? Like we don't see that in the game. I mean, there is like she gives the watch to him, saying that she fixed it.
Yeah,
But like even that, that aspect of it, like her going into town and getting the watch fixed, adds a little bit more of a sentimental value to it.
no doubt, yeah.
And even to just the scene in general. So, um, it'll be nice to see all that. It'll be nice to see them kind of maybe draw out some of these experiences a little bit more.
Mhm.
And obviously some of that's to fill time, of course, but um, but again, just to add that little extra element of emotion to the various things that go down in the story.
Yep.
Um, yeah, man, it's been good so far. That entire episode was awesome. Whew, I can't wait. I can't wait for Sunday. It's gonna be good.
Yep,
Gonna
every
be good.
Sunday's gonna be pretty good.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Um, One of the things I wanted to ask you though, with it,
Mhm.
do you think that uh we'll see the second game get thrown into maybe not even this season, but like maybe into like a second season? or
I
do they
think they'll
potentially just go off and do their own thing?
I think they'll want to do the second game as a second season, but I think you're gonna have to switch some characters. Like I don't think I'm sorry to say, I just don't think Bella can pull off an older Ellie. 'Cause she's 19
Yeah,
now, in fact.
yeah,
So if she's 19 now, like even if the show ends up being like 2 years out, I just don't think there's enough time to um have her, I guess, grow up in a way
that's fair.
in order to pull off um just like the older, darker Ellie.
Sure.
But so maybe you might have to switch Ellie actresses. But outside of that, I think that that's definitely going to be what they want to do. But they could always change the story around too, somewhat. So who knows?
Yeah. No, it's a fair point. It's a fair point. Yeah, I think I part of me even wonders like because usually there's potentially like 9 or 10 episodes.
Mhm.
If each episode is as long as this first episode was, which it probably won't be, like because this was the first episode, that's probably why it was a little bit longer. I'm expecting probably about an hour runtime for each episode.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
But even then, an hour, and think about where we are in relation to the story already, essentially an hour and a half into this story.
Yep.
Part of me does wonder if maybe they do potentially speed things up a little bit and they put the two games into this one season.
No, I don't think they'll do that.
You don't think so?
No, no way. Their pacing's way too slow already. There's just no shot.
No. And I mean, I guess it's a fair point because, like, obviously, part of the beauty of The Last of Us is the environment itself. And as a filmmaker, obviously, you want to be able to have people experience that and take all that in. So you do kind of have to keep the pacing slow to make that happen. So I guess that's a fair point. That's a fair point. But
Yeah, no way. Um, I can see them doing a part two though.
yeah, I can definitely see it. I can
This
definitely
is
see it.
like I think I saw this is like the second highest grossing like HBO premiere of all time outside of like House of the Dragon, which is kind of insane. So
That's actually nuts.
yeah,
That's actually kind of crazy.
people were very excited for this one.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that. That's a nut. That's absolutely insane. Huh. Yeah. No, I mean again, as a whole, loved it. I'm excited for the next episode. I'm excited to keep watching every Sunday. Every Sunday. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
It will be fun. Should be good.
Also, it's also gonna be heartbreaking, obviously, as you go through.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah.
Do you think they're gonna have the
I am very excited to see how they like do some of these scenes in live action.
same?
I think it'll be really cool to see.
Same. Do you think do you think they're gonna have the bunny scene in it?
Oh, um, yeah, maybe.
Oh God.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, maybe something
the
similar at least.
that is one of my favorite Twitch clips of all time.
It is really funny.
Oh, it's so good.
That's the cutest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life.
That's so good, man. I love it. I love it. But yeah, again, man, I'm excited. Should be fun.
Yep, they
Should be
did a
fun.
really good job. Excited to see more,
Yeah.
and hopefully they don't fuck it up, dude.
Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully. But I got a good feeling. I don't see that happening. But well anywho, the NFL. NFL
Yeah.
the super wild card weekend. I don't know why super? Like why can't it just be wild card weekend still? Is it because they added the extra game? Is that their reasoning?
I guess. Yeah.
Right? Like I don't get it. But anywho, a lot of epic games happened. Um, a lot of just really good stuff. Obviously, we opened it up Niners versus Seahawks to open up the playoffs. It was a fun matchup. It was a fun matchup. I think a little bit closer than I anticipated. Um, especially in the first half.
Yep.
Um, Brock Purdy he came out, he was slinging, he was pretty decent. He was accurate throwing the football. But Seattle was keeping the deep ball and the big plays in check.
Mhm.
Um, so they weren't really letting a lot of stuff happen. Um, but eventually, obviously, as time went on, Niners skill players, those stars that they have, guys like Christian McCaffrey and Debo and George Kittle, they popped off, right? Like they started make some big plays. Obviously, Debo had the what was it, like 73-yard, you know, run that he had, and
Indeed.
um and then I think McCaffrey popped off like another, like he had like a 50-yard run or something. Um but Might have even been more than 50, actually, now that I think about it. Um but yeah, no, it just, again, they started playing well, and Brock Purdy even started picking up his game and bringing it to a whole nother level, whole nother element. I don't know if you saw Doc. He blew the foghorn to get the crowd hyped up and ready to
Yep,
go for
very
the
cool. Yeah.
game. As a Doc fan, we always love seeing that. But yeah, man, they played well. They won out, obviously. What was the final score? It was like 31-14 or something like that, right?
Something like that. Yeah, it wasn't really close all game, to be honest.
No, I mean it was close in the first half. It was like 14-13 in the first half. Um, but then after the second half is when obviously San Fran just started they made the adjustments, right? Like then they started kind of taking off.
Yep.
Um yeah, I mean, again, extremely impressive. Played very, very well. Do you think that Brock Purdy can be the guy to lead this team further?
Um, no.
You don't think so? So you're gonna stick with your original prediction to where Dallas's defense is gonna cause some issues.
I just think they will, bro. Um,
Okay.
I don't think Purdy's like faced any real pressure yet. So I just feel like it's gonna take one of these better teams. I think we'll break a bit, man. I'll be honest.
Okay. All right. All right. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. Obviously. Um, obviously that's a big matchup coming up this weekend.
Mhm.
So we'll definitely see. But um, yeah, I mean, I think he played extremely well. Seattle's defense, even though they didn't look all that great, they're still no joke. I mean, there's a lot of really good young talent on that team, especially in the secondary. Um, Purdy just
And they're all right.
Purdy just knew how to make the plays, man. He just knew what to do. He read the defense well. And his overall awareness was really good. And I think that's one thing that's been very impressive about him so far, is the fact that he has been able to go out time after time and just stay consistent. Which, again, in today's NFL, that's it's not easy to do, especially as the guy that was taken as the very last pick in the draft and was not expecting to be starting on a Super Bowl caliber um, football team.
Yep, definitely not.
But um, on the other side, though, so Seattle, obviously they had a much better season than I think a lot of people anticipated. Um, Geno Smith, he said he wants to stay. Um, I believe they
I thought
have
they
the
said
intent.
that they're sticking with him.
I was gonna say I believe they have the intentions of sticking with him. Do you think that's the right move, or should they start prepping for somebody new?
Um, where's their pick at? It's pretty high, right?
It is, yeah, it is a higher pick. Um, they're like mid first round.
Or did they trade them? Didn't they trade for
Well,
something at
yeah,
some point?
they got a couple first rounders from Denver.
Oh, they have
Um,
Denver's first round pick.
yeah. But even still, it's like a 10th, 11th, something like that.
Yeah. So I feel like the only way, if you're Seattle, they have the fifth overall pick. So they 5th and 20.
Okay.
So if you, I feel like if someone like CJ Stroud drops into your lap at 5, you take him.
Sure.
But assuming he won't be there, which he probably won't, um, I probably wouldn't take like the third best QB. So I'd probably just go D line or whoever's best available at 5. Um, and then if by 20, if the third best QB is available, maybe you go with that guy.
Yeah.
But you're probably better off just getting a bit more talent on defense and maybe trying to roll with Gino once more.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're probably not wrong. I especially because I mean, he played well. I mean, he had a career year. And I mean, honestly, even in this game, like he played pretty solid, all things
Mhm.
considered. Like he was accurate throwing the football, especially in the first half. Um, again, he played well, man.
He did not play bad, yeah.
And again, his entire season was a very solid year, and I mean, he was definitely a key part of their success that they had. Um, so yeah, I mean, I definitely don't think you're wrong. And again, I think he can potentially even just again build off of the year he had and be even stronger
Yep.
potentially
The other
next
thing
year.
is his age, right? He's like 34. So he's not like super young.
Yeah,
So there's that.
yeah,
But um as long as he's okay for at least, a couple of seasons, you can kind of roll with them.
sure,
But then again, thinking about it more, like how often you have the fifth overall pick, you know what I mean?
right,
So
right.
there's also unless you're the Jets, now that I think about it. But
True,
but
that is true.
there's also that opportunity where you have the two first round picks. The Bears don't need a QB.
No,
So I mean, you could move up to one if you really want
you could,
and take your guy, but I feel
could,
like the Seahawks just sort of seeing how they usually pick. I don't think that they'll do something like that.
no, yeah, no. I agree. I mean, and plus, I think you'd be dumb to do that. When you have the fifth and 20th pick in the first round, I mean that's pretty good. So, I mean, you're definitely gonna get
Pretty good.
that's pretty good. Unless they end up being busts, I mean, obviously you're gonna get two pretty solid talents, with those picks. So, yeah, no, I agree. I don't really see that happening. But then it also makes you ask the question because now obviously we're talking a couple years without Seattle having any sort of success after them being, you know, a pretty dominant team in the NFC. Um, is Pete Carroll the problem? Do we need to possibly make a change at coach?
No, I don't think so. I think he's
You don't
fine.
think so?
No, I think Pete Carroll's more than okay. Um, like the Seahawks they're pretty untalented right now, other than like a few wide receiver weapons. So
Sure.
I mean they just need more talent basically. They just have to do a good job in free agency and shit, and maybe draft a couple good guys. But and obviously it's still. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still Geno Smith. Like the guy still is gonna have his limits. So
Yeah.
there's still that. I
What
think
you
Pete
mean,
Carroll.
dude? Geno Smith is the greatest QB in the NFL.
Okay, yeah, I mean, sure, okay, I respect that opinion. I guess.
You shouldn't, but
I mean, I don't, but it's
yeah,
fine.
yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, Pete Carroll, he's fine, dude. I think they'll let him be coach as long as he wants to, basically.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, and I mean, I mean, that guy's getting up there. I mean, he's like 74, 75, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
So like, I don't see him coaching that much longer, anyways. But and I think you're honestly right. Like, I don't think they're on. I don't think they're in rebuild mode just yet. Um, but we'll see. We'll uh we'll see what happens with them. Obviously, they're in a division that's not necessarily the strongest division. I mean, obviously the Niners are a key part of that division, but and are probably going to be a tough opponent for quite some time. But
Indeed.
uh, the Rams. I mean, obviously they had a ton of injury problems this year, but I wouldn't expect that to be the norm for them as far as how they performed. And who's the other team in that division? Arizona, right?
Arizona, yeah.
Yeah, I mean they're just ass. So, I mean, I'd expect that to potentially be the same for a while.
Very true. Yeah, I don't
But
think much will change in that particular department. So
yeah, yeah. But Kyler Murray, I don't think he's the answer. Needless to
nah,
say.
probably not. He's
But
playing Warzone, man. He's busy.
true. He's too busy playing COD, man. He's gotta get ready for the second season. That's that's getting delayed.
Exactly. He's got
But
big aspirations, man.
true. That he does. That he
Yeah,
does. Oh, when did you?
big inspirations.
Hi, Joe.
Yo, bro.
Jesus Christ, Dave, don't sound so excited to see me.
We're recording our podcast.
Oh, we aren't streaming. Okay, Lambert said uh playing Overwatch. He did not specify a time. I wasn't paying attention.
I said in a little bit, to be fair.
That was like 20 minutes ago.
Man,
Whatever.
says you.
Whatever. I'm leaving.
Well, you don't gotta leave, bro. You're chilling.
He left. All right. What were we saying? I don't even remember. Cardinals are
Something
ass.
about
Kyler Murray's
something
ass.
about
That's what it
Yamada.
was. Oh, okay. All right. I don't know. That's what we were talking about. But yeah, I mean, again, all in all, solid game. Um, again, it was a bit of a blowout in the second half, of course, but um, still a fun matchup. Still fun to watch. Um, the second game of the wild card weekend. Or, I'm sorry, I keep saying it. The super wild card weekend.
Yeah.
The Jags versus the Chargers. That looked like it was gonna be pretty bad.
Yeah, started off pretty bad.
From the get go. The pick on their first possession after the ball was tipped at the line.
Yep.
Obviously Chargers then proceed to score. I mean, they got great field advantage, field positioning at that point. But they proceed to go ahead and score, um,
Indeed.
and it really just felt like all momentum was with LA. It really did feel like Jacksonville was just, either just an inexperienced team. I mean, Trevor Lawrence just an inexperienced quarterback in this type of situation. Obviously, the playoffs are a completely different level, completely different environment.
Yep.
Which is funny that we say that because we just got done talking about Brock Purdy and how well he played,
True.
but different team, right? Obviously, it's safe to say the Jaguars aren't as good of a team as the Niners,
I think that's pretty safe to say.
right? But they showed some moments where in that first half they showed a lot of moments where they could potentially be a team that could give the Chargers a run for their money.
Mhm.
They were making some decent plays and were getting down the field. And then it was just interception after interception. um, just a lot of issues. Asante Samuel Jr., which until I realized it was Junior, I literally didn't even realize it. I thought it was the Asante Samuel I grew up watching play football. Like no shot, this dude's still playing kind of deal. But
That would have been funny.
I
Just
would
like 50 years old out
yeah.
there running around.
But
Asante Samuel.
yeah, I mean, what a game he had. Obviously, the three interceptions. Um, he clearly played out of his mind. Either that or Trevor Lawrence thought he just all of a sudden became a Jaguars receiver. I don't know. The NFL can be very confusing sometimes.
Indeed. I'll give you that.
But all in all, excuse me, all in all, the defense, they held their own for the most part. Again,
Hmm.
it was definitely a blowout heading into halftime. What was the score at half? It was like 27-7 or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
Um, I saw a video. There was a Chargers fan who fell asleep before halftime. He didn't wake up until his buddy woke him up at the end of the game.
Damn. Okay.
That had to be the worst nap in the history of that man's life.
Not wrong.
Because obviously, second half starts. Chargers come out, or I'm sorry, the Jaguars come out. Really just firing on all cylinders.
Yeah. True.
And man, I mean they exploded. They were popping off. Everything was clicking for them. Everything was working well. Everything working in their favor.
Yeah. Yep.
And obviously, eventually make their way down the field to, you know, score a ton of points and come back and again end up making it a game-winning field goal to seal the deal and move on to the next round. I think heading into this matchup, a lot of people, not us, we were perfect on our predictions, but
Perfect.
of course, the one weekend I don't fucking put down a parlay, and I get my predictions right. But anyway,
That would have been nice.
yeah, that would have been nice. That would have been nice. Jags, honestly, Jags and Giants, because both teams weren't favored in their matchups. So like getting all of those games right, it would have been a nice payout. Would have been a nice payout. And of course, I don't make that bet. I hate myself. Anyway, but yeah, heading into this matchup, obviously a lot of people thought, the Chargers were, they were a team that could potentially make a run, right? Like, there's a lot of good talent. They're a team that is, they're clicking at the right time, right? They're finally getting into that groove that they need to
Yep.
get into. And man, I mean, I don't know what happened. Like, I don't know if it was just poor play calling. I don't know if it was just a lapse in judgment. I did see that they did fire their offensive coordinator.
I did see that.
As
Yeah.
well as their QB coach.
Oh, I did
today.
not see that.
Yeah. They fired both. And while yes, they struggled to put up any sort of points in that second half, I mean, do you blame them? Or do you blame the defensive coordinator there?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think the whole squad played pretty bad, though.
Sure.
Like I don't think a single person on the Charger side played good at all in the second half. So,
Sure. Yeah, I mean, like you only scored 3 points on offense, and obviously, defensively, you give up 23 points in the second half. Like,
mhm.
yeah, that's not good. That's definitely not good. Um, but and not only that, you also had a couple just blown plays as well on defense. So like, to me personally, I think I blame the defense more than I blame the offense. And all year long, I mean, their offense was pretty decent. They weren't bad, especially considering all the injuries that they had to deal with and stuff like that to some key guys. I think they mentioned a stat during the game. The Chargers had no less than 6 players hurt at once all season long.
Oh Jesus, okay.
That's a lot, and some of them were pretty key guys. You know what I mean? Again, Keenan Allen missed most of the season. Mike Williams missed a decent chunk of time, including this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of injuries to have to deal with every single week. So yeah, I don't know, man. On the flip side though, Doug Peterson, really showing the cojones, man. I mean, just showing that he's he knows what he's doing apparently.
He's not bad. He's not bad.
Yeah. And Trevor Lawrence, man. I mean, he might be the best quarterback I've ever seen throw 4 interceptions in a game. Uh,
Right? Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, because that second half was a completely different guy. I mean, he came out, he was slinging it all over the place, making some great throws.
Hmm.
Um, again, as a whole, played fantastic. Um, so yeah, man, it was very interesting to see. And just the overall vibe. I mean, I think you and I both watched the game, live as it was happening that night, and we were reacting off of everything that was going on,
Mhm.
and I mean, you could just feel it, even from here in fucking Pennsylvania, like we could feel the energy in Jacksonville. Um, like it's just everybody was just they were ready for it. Um,
It was pretty crazy.
it really was, and yeah, I mean, just absolutely incredible. Um, Christian Kirk showed that he was worth the money that they signed him for, obviously. Um, and yeah, man, I mean, what an effort. The 2-point conversion at the end as well.
Yeah,
Um,
that was nuts. Yeah.
to be able to go for the field goal to take the lead and ultimately, obviously, eventually win the game. Yeah, I mean, just what an effort by them, and it's sad because they're gonna immediately get demolished this upcoming weekend, but
And it says you.
um, but it was awesome to see. I don't know if you saw it too. Literally right after the game, Trevor Lawrence went out and his way of celebrating his first ever playoff win in his first ever playoff game was by going to Waffle House. Um,
Solid.
yeah,
Fuck yeah.
making a nice little late night run to Waffle House, which I respect the hell out of that. That's that's a G move right there. But yeah, man, it's very very interesting way of opening up the weekend. Obviously, but again, don't expect them to do much after that. But hey, is what it is.
Yep.
Um, the next game, however, which opened up Sunday's contest, Miami versus Buffalo, or Miami at Buffalo, I should say, um, was a much closer game than I think anybody expected. Um, and truthfully, I think you and I even both said it. If Tua is out there on the field, I think Miami actually pulls off the upset.
Yeah, they definitely do. No
Um,
doubt.
not that Skylar Thompson played bad because he actually really didn't. You look at it, what he did statistically, yeah, it doesn't look great,
Hmm.
but he was making good throws. It was just a lot of dropped passes, and really on both sides of the ball. There was just a lot of just bad plays, altogether.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, man, I mean, just a lot of dropped passes. Like Jalen Waddle didn't get his first catch until I think it was late in the third quarter, if I'm not mistaken.
Gotcha. Okay.
Um, and I mean, obviously that's a big target, right? Um, he had touched the ball about 4 times prior to that catch. He dropped every single one of those passes. it's which I can't even say dropped. A couple of them were just really good defensive plays to where they knocked it out of his hands. But there was one, he was wide open down the field. It would have been a massive play, and yeah, that was a drop, and that was kind of bad. But
Yeah.
um, but again, man, as a whole, I think Skylar Thompson actually played pretty decent. Um, he did make a couple bad throws here and there, but I mean every quarterback does. Um, every once in a while. But I mean, early on, it definitely looked like Buffalo was they were gonna pull away. They were gonna drive off into the distance. But then, the game plan was clearly for them to launch the ball deep down the field and try to beat them on the deep ball, right? Try to beat them on the big play. And Miami's defense kept making some big plays to counter it. Obviously, a couple picks that
Mhm.
they forced, and um, again, it was it was good to see. Made it a very entertaining game, very exciting game, and one that came all the way down to the wire. Um,
Yep,
you know,
they hung in there. Yeah.
yeah, all the way down to the very end, and yeah, it was fun to watch. Um, Definitely a lot of fun. But my question for you is that obviously after seeing that matchup and knowing who Buffalo is going to be playing against this
Yep.
upcoming weekend, uh, if you're a part of the Buffalo organization, if you're a Buffalo fan, the Bills Mafia, are you concerned?
I think you have to be a little bit, just because you should have basically won the game in the first half if you're playing a team with their backup QB.
Yeah,
But at the end of the day, Josh Allen, I think, is just so good that you can't be that worried. You have such a good squad around you that, like, listen. You'll be fine. You will be fine. Okay.
sure.
Um, who do they face now?
The Bengals.
The Bengals. Yeah. So that's a tough one. Um, but I think you have to be more worried. Your offense will be fine. You just have to be more worried about your defense for sure.
Yeah,
Um, than your offense, because your offense will move the ball no matter what. So
yeah. And I mean and that's definitely fair, right? Like the offense can definitely get down the field as they've proven time and time again. However, the offense is I think part of the reason why Miami was able to stay in the game.
mhm.
Again, there was a lot of mistakes made on the offensive side of the ball. The two picks, there might have even been a fumble as well. I can't remember, but yeah, I mean, they obviously showed that like they are definitely not mistake free. You know, they're not mistake free. They're not playing mistake free football.
Definitely
Um,
not. Yeah.
they've obviously shown that a couple times this year. But yeah, I mean, if I'm a Buffalo fan, if I'm a part of that Bills Mafia, yeah, I'm a little concerned coming into this weekend. Because
Yeah.
again,
Because the
I mean that
Bengals are hypothetically a lot better than the Dolphins, right? So
right, and uh, even though the Dolphins are no joke, like again, they're obviously a playoff football team, made the playoffs. Um, and ultimately held their own, made some big plays to put themselves into the game and be a part of it and all that stuff. Yeah, man. I mean, I think I think you got to be worried for sure. Um cuz ultimately at the end of the day you can't play like that against Cincinnati. They will punish you for you know playing the way they did against Miami.
yeah.
Um but yeah, I mean we'll see what happens. I mean, if you're a Miami fan, are you excited for the future?
Maybe. I know a lot of people don't like Tua, so um, possibly, but possibly not. If that makes sense.
Sort of. Sort of. I mean, I kind of agree with you. Like, I think if I'm a Miami fan, I'm excited for the future. There's a part of me that could be concerned. Like maybe this year was just a little bit of a fluke.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Tua, even though he had this like really high QB rating, that like led the league for a decent chunk of the year, and I think at one point he led the league in passing yards even and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I mean, if you look at some of the big plays he made, the deep balls he made, it was all because of his receivers. It wasn't because of him.
Yeah. True.
Because he's
Yeah.
gonna get the ball down the field. Like he would launch it down the field, and Tyreek or Waddle would have to adjust to the ball, and they would just make the catch, and then they would just do their thing. Um, and I mean, that was an issue we saw a lot with with them. So yeah, I mean that definitely makes you concerned there. You also kind of have to worry about his health too. Obviously the whole concussion issues that he had this year.
Yep, no doubt.
Um,
There's definitely some health concerns, but I mean,
right?
he's always been a bit injury prone since college. So,
Sure.
but obviously, I don't think he ever had like head health issues,
Yeah,
which
right. This is obviously a whole new animal.
yeah, it could be a lot worse.
Yeah. So yeah. So I mean, obviously that's something you kind of got to worry about as well.
Yep, no doubt.
Um, but I mean, if you got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I mean, that's arguably probably the best wide receiver combo in the entire
Uh,
league.
yep, outside of
Um,
AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, I agree.
I mean, in terms of production and what they managed to do all year, that's a pretty good combo. So,
Yep, sitting
um,
right behind AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. I agree. They're pretty insane.
so yeah, I mean, it just kind of makes you. I think as a whole, you're excited if you're a Dolphins fan.
Yeah, listen, your team is young and very talented. Like, there's nothing to
Yes,
be said about here. Like,
yes.
obviously, there's a lot of promise going forward.
Yeah, and you're in a division to where, like, yes, obviously you have the Bills who are going to be tough to deal with for quite some time. Um, and even the Jets who look like they're showing some promise.
If they get a QB, yeah.
True, true that. But
Hey, Brady to the Jets? Huh? Huh?
hey, that won't happen. There's no shot.
Huh?
There's no shot. But
The Raiders, maybe? Huh? Huh?
there's actually potential talks of that. There's actually some talks
Uh-oh.
of that. But
Do that.
we'll touch on that in a little bit. But yeah, I mean, and then obviously New England, you know, who the hell knows what's going on there.
Yeah, they're cooked
But
up.
yeah, which Bill O'Brien potentially coming back as an offensive coordinator. I
Oh,
don't hate it.
Jesus.
I don't
Yep.
hate it. It's better than Matt Patricia. I'll take it.
Yeah, Matt Patricia shouldn't be the offensive coordinator. I'll give you that.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll take it. But yeah, I'm not. I don't know. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I
But
have to see what that ends up
yeah,
happening with. So,
but um, the second game of Sunday was also a pretty exciting one. Again, I mean, as a whole, I think all of the games we saw, minus last night's game, that one was a little rough, but all the games we saw were good. They were entertaining. But the second game of Sunday, New York Giants specifically at Minnesota, um, another fun matchup, which we kind of knew that going into it, and I mean, you and I both agreed that the Giants were going to be that team that you know they're gonna show that the Vikings are a quote unquote fraud, right? They aren't as good as they looked.
yeah.
Um, One thing I will say, like heading into it, especially throughout most of that first quarter, I was a little worried that this would be the one prediction we'd get wrong. Um, Mostly because it looked like T.J. Hawkinson and Justin Jefferson were gonna go off. It looked like they were gonna have some great games. Um, and then obviously as the game progressed, that changed a little bit. Giants
They
made
did.
adjustments
Did.
and they kept Justin Jefferson in check. I think 7 catches, only like 57 yards or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, which I mean, it's Justin Jefferson. Obviously, he's going to get production, right? It was going to happen, but to hold him to that, I mean, that's what you want, right? Like I think you're okay with that if you're the Giants. Um,
Yeah.
and then speaking of the Giants, so obviously they played some great football, man. Daniel Jones looked better than any sort of version of Daniel Jones I think we've ever seen.
Yeah.
Um,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I mean, he was playing phenomenal football, both through the air and on the ground. He just kept doing his thing. Saquon, I mean, he made some big runs and really was a leader out there. I mean, there was multiple moments I saw. He's on the sideline, talking to the guys, getting them fired up and getting them going and stuff. So,
Yep.
for a young guy, that's it's cool. It's cool to see that. Um, And
Yeah,
again, I
it's
think,
cool seeing Saquon sort of like because his career seemed to be going on a little bit of a
yeah,
downhill there. So
yeah,
it's cool to see him have another big year.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And yeah, no, I mean, it was cool to see that he can be the guy that can motivate the team and kind of get everybody going. And again, Daniel Jones obviously playing very well. Darius Slayton was playing phenomenal football throughout the game as well. He had a lot of big plays. He ended up being the guy for them this year in the receiving game. Um, which I don't think anybody really expected that. You would think that the guy that you spent all this money on in Kenny Galladay would have, would have been your guy, but here we are. Um, but yeah, no, Darius Slayton played well. Obviously there was that moment towards the end. I don't remember if he like fumbled the ball, dropped a pass, something like that. That ended up being like kind of key. But then obviously the Giants, they made a defensive stop and ended up winning the game. Um, but again, no, as a whole, Giants played really good football. Played really well. Offense was doing their thing. Um, Minnesota though, I some question marks on my head there. Mostly in their play calling.
Like calling was
There
whack.
there was some really questionable decisions. Like there was the one play, it was in the first quarter. It was 3rd and 1 and they it was like a sweep play to Justin Jefferson, but then it was a fake, and he passes the ball back to Kirk Cousins, who's like 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and is practically covered. Like there's a guy there waiting for it, and I mean he makes the catch and then gets tackled immediately. Like it was a very very questionable decision.
Well, Kirk
Not,
should have thrown the ball there. Um,
but he couldn't because it was a forward pass, and you'll see like he makes the catch and then he starts to try to run with it. So it almost makes me wonder, one, if that was actually the design play, was for Kirk to catch it and then try to run with the ball, which is questionable because like not that Kirk Cousins is like the Tom Brady of the NFL to where he's super slow and can't really run,
yeah,
but like he's also not Mike Vick. So again, very very questionable decision there. And two, even if it's supposed to be this like double trick play to where you pass the ball back to him behind the line, like to where it's a backward pass again, and
mhm,
then he passes the ball down the field. Even that, I question. Again, especially on 3rd and 1 in your backed up in your own territory.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Again, very questionable decision in my opinion. Um, but then fast forward later on in the game, to determine the outcome of their season. It's like 3rd and 13, and he dumps it off for a 3-yard pass to a guy that's completely covered.
Yeah, makes no sense. I don't know why I did it, and that's just classic Kirk Cousins, just
Yeah,
not thinking what he's doing. I guess.
no, and
He
it's
literally would have been better off just taking off and running. He would have had more of a chance
he
of getting that first
probably
down.
100%. And it's funny too because like he actually played a decent game. Like you look at his stats, he actually played pretty well throughout the game. Um, like he was accurate throwing the football, piled up the yardage. Like he was playing solid football. Um, but yeah, it's some very, very questionable decision making. Which, kind of begs the question. So do you think that this very talented team in Minnesota is ever going to make a run with Kirk Cousins at the helm?
No doubt.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't either.
I just don't think he's good enough.
No.
Like he could win you obviously enough games to make it into the playoffs, but I just
Yeah.
don't think that he has the man. I don't know what the word is. He just doesn't have like the calmness factor, the ice in his veins
Sure.
to win
Sure.
some playoff games.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
where we're at. So
I feel that.
um,
I feel that. Yeah, he man, it's just a lot of just question marks when it comes to him. And obviously there's the whole talk of him, when it comes to him playing on prime time, his record on prime time is quite bad.
Very bad.
But yeah. I agree. I don't think I don't think it was one of those situations you blame the coaching staff or he doesn't have enough talent around him because obviously he does.
Yeah,
Between Dalvin Cook,
more than
yeah,
enough.
between Dalvin Cook and now TJ Hawkinson and Justin Jefferson. Um and even the defensively, like that's a solid defense on the other side of the ball too. Again, not their best game, but um, you know, they did what they needed to. And again, just some very just questionable decisions in play calling and um yeah, yeah. I don't know. If I'm Minnesota's front office, I am it's tough to find a good quarterback in the NFL. It really is,
Very difficult.
as a lot of teams have proven time and time again.
Because it's more than just ability.
Exactly. Exactly. Um but if I'm Minnesota's front office, before it's too late, I'm probably trying to trade away Kirk Cousins while I can. Because I almost feel like if you hang on to him too long, it's just he's obviously going to get old, going to get washed up, and it's just all this wasted time at this point.
I think Minnesota. That's the thing that also sucks with them is since Kirk is still decent
Yeah,
in the regular season, they always draft too high to take a quarterback. So
sure.
I think they may just have to sort of bite the bullet and unfortunately just sort of give up some draft picks to go get someone you like. But I think next QB draft is actually very good. So they'll probably try to wait till then. But I mean, you can't keep paying Kirk Cousins $35 million a year to literally get you nowhere. So
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with that. 100%. That's why I say, like, again, if I'm Minnesota, trade them away. There's teams that obviously want quarterbacks right now. There's teams that'll definitely take them.
yep,
Trade them away. Get the picks for them because you could probably even get a first round pick for them. So take what you can get, and I think you move on because otherwise, I mean, what else do you do? I mean, unfortunately, it's just not enough to get you to that next step. But it's man, sucks to be a Minnesota fan. That's really. I think I'd rather be the Patriots fan to not even get to see his team make it to the playoffs.
yeah, right, yeah.
But yeah, it's very interesting. And then obviously to kind of round out the night, for Sunday night, we got to see Cincinnati versus Baltimore. Was a much, much, much closer game than I anticipated. Um, I think than either one of us anticipated, and potentially even the entire country. Um, obviously the Ravens with no Lamar Jackson. Um, there was the thought of Cincinnati, again playing phenomenal football as of late. This is definitely going to be, they're really going to show people what they're made of in this game. And I mean, Baltimore stayed in it completely throughout. Um, obviously Cincinnati, there's some key moments for Cincinnati. Obviously, the offensive line failed to kind of hold up a couple times, and Burrow took some hits, as has kind of become the norm in
Yep.
for him. Which I mean, it's crazy because one of these times he's going to get hurt real bad. Which I mean, we've already seen that once before, but one of these times he's going to get hurt real bad, and it's obviously going to change a lot. But um, yeah, I mean, again, it was very it was a very back and forth game that was just not at all, really what you would think would happen. And you could almost argue the same thing that we'd argued with Miami. If Baltimore has Lamar Jackson out there, do they do they win? Do they beat Cincinnati in this matchup?
I agree with you completely. It's just the way some of these teams are set up right now. I just don't think they have these teams that are dominant enough to win these games. Whether it
Sure.
be for one reason or another. But yeah, they just have to put together just a couple more pieces. Like they're almost there, but
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. And I mean, again, you obviously got some good talent on the defensive side of the ball. One of the biggest issues offensively for them, aside from injury, has been, just guys to throw the ball to.
Mhm.
Obviously Hollywood Brown, trade him away to Arizona. Um, and aside from Mark Andrews, I mean that's your biggest target. Um, but but yeah, I mean it's again, very interesting to see how it all played out. And I mean, again, Baltimore definitely was in position to win that game and very well could have. Cincinnati, they made a lot of mistakes throughout the game. Whether it
Yep.
be again letting your quarterback take too many hits, um, miss extra point early on. Um, I got a lot of big moments, and it almost makes you sit there and ask the same question I asked about Buffalo. If you're a Cincinnati fan, are you worried? Are you nervous?
Um, I don't know, man. I mean, I think it's impossible not to be just because it is playoffs and you never know. But obviously, yeah, you kind of would have wanted a more bigger statement win, right? But at the end of the day, man, it's all playoffs. All these teams are here for a reason, so you should expect like some sort of tough games and close games and stuff. So, be word within reason, basically.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. Um, I mean, if I'm a Cincinnati fan, I'm definitely concerned over the fact that one, I have an offensive line that can't protect my quarterback.
I mean,
Um,
that's always been the case.
and yeah, I mean, obviously you got to worry about that every snap. You're kind of like you're holding your breath a little bit. Um, but then obviously the other side of it too is again you're going up against a very tough Buffalo team, and it's gonna be a huge matchup.
Yep.
Um, and probably gonna be one of the better games that we see this weekend. But yeah, I mean, again, do you get the same level of success that you've seen throughout the year, knowing again how tough it is to play against Buffalo? And again, if I'm a Cincinnati fan, that's what concerns me. Can the team do that? And again, similar to Buffalo, can my team not make any mistakes? Like there was a lot of mistakes made again between the extra mix, the missed extra point, the turnovers, even they obviously had the fumbles and stuff like that. So like again, just it was one of those situations to where similar to Buffalo should have been a statement win, and it wasn't. And again, you kind of just have to hope that you can kind of clean those things up. But yeah, I mean, we'll see, man. We'll see how it all goes down.
See what
If
plays out. Yeah.
if you're Baltimore, let me ask you this. I mean, do you think they re-sign Lamar Jackson?
I mean, they probably do, just because. Like, what else do you do, basically?
Does he want to re-sign though? Is the bigger question.
I don't know. Um, yeah, it's gonna depend on his relationship, I think, with the coach and shit.
Yeah,
But if the contract's right, I think he definitely would.
which
Because
is
at the end
that's
of the
what the
day,
biggest issue has been is the
yeah,
contract hasn't been right.
yeah. At the end of the day, Baltimore's very good, so it'd be interesting to leave a good team, um, to go somewhere else. But
Yeah.
I mean, I see it from both sides. I see it from the team's perspective as well, where I think there was like some sort of like rumors or insinuations that if he had his contract, he would have played through the injury in
Yeah.
this game. And if that's the case. I don't think that helps his case very much in getting a contract. But
No.
um, you know, I can't read minds. I don't know what either side's thinking,
Sure.
so
Sure.
it's tough to say 100%. But
Yeah.
I think Lamar Jackson's a good QB. I don't know if he could win a Super Bowl, especially with his arm, but I think as if they can put the right pieces around him, I think they could have a lot of success with him. So it's just gonna it's just really gonna depend on what that number ends up being
Fair.
on the per year cap. So
Yeah. Yeah. I don't disagree. I mean, I don't know. I think he's worth the money that he's asking for. I know he's asking for a pretty hefty contract. And I think he's worth it because I mean, obviously, a former MVP has shown that when he's out there on the field, makes a hell of a difference as far as how the team plays and their success and all that stuff.
Mhm.
Um, they've consistently been a playoff team with him at quarterback. Um,
True, true.
it's the bigger question of again trying to get to that next step, right? To get to that Super Bowl and try to do something there. And that I mean, that's obviously the question that everybody has in mind, and including himself. I mean,
Mhm.
part of his reasoning for potentially wanting to leave Baltimore is the fact that you just can't get to that next step. But um, I kind of respect. I'm glad you brought it up. I kind of respect his decision to not play this game.
Yep.
You know, even though it's the playoffs, right? Like I get that. Playoff football, it's that chance to go even further. I mean, think back to RG3, right?
Mhm.
He steps in for that wild card game. Um, after having that really bad knee injury earlier in the year. Um, the thought was, hey, definitely not quite 100% ready to go, but hey, it's playoff football. I'm here. Let's go.
Right.
Which you respect that a lot too, obviously. And then it was like the third play or something like that goes down awkwardly, and it's pretty much career over for him at that point.
Yep. It's it'd be a big risk to play, and
Yeah.
obviously thinking about your future
Yep.
is obviously very important. So
Yeah.
I don't blame him for not playing.
Yeah.
I just I just wonder if the team thought that he was healthy enough to play, if it's that type of scenario.
Sure.
But obviously, again, they can't read his mind. Where if he feels like he's not ready to play, then at the end of the day, he won't. So
Sure. Yeah. And again, if you're in his situations where you're trying to secure a nice sum of money, it's
Mhm.
easier to it's easier to do that when you're not hobbling around on one leg. So that definitely helps. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how all that goes down. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if you do end up seeing him hit the free agency market and he goes elsewhere.
Yep.
Where he would end up, who knows? But um, I wouldn't be surprised, especially in today's world of sports. Just in general. Um, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised by that by one bit. But um, but yeah, yeah. Again, it was a very interesting matchup. Again, it was a lot closer than anticipated. I mean, it's definitely fair to say that the Ravens kind of blew it. Obviously, there was that play on the goal line um, that you know I think it's fair to say changed the course of the entire game. Just in that fourth quarter. Um, but yeah, um, it's again we're going to see a very very fun matchup between the Bengals and Bills. That should be good. But to round out the super wild card weekend, um we had the Bucks and the Cowboys.
Yep.
A game that I think most of America was very 50-50 on. I don't think anybody truly knew what to expect from it. Um, I think everybody kind of looked at it was like, okay, either the Cowboys are going to be the typical Cowboys in the playoffs and they're going to choke, or uh, or they're going to come out and they're going to play some good football and they're actually going to show up for a change. Um, and Brady and the Bucks are going to be the Brady and the Bucks that we've seen like all season long. Um,
Yep.
I think all in all, like it was just this was probably the biggest 50-50 matchup of the entire weekend.
Mhm.
And it ended up being the least, uh, the least decisive. It's probably not the right wording, but you get my point. Like it ended up being the game that ended up pretty much being a blowout. Um,
Yeah. Listen, uh, an 8-9 team has no business being in the playoffs.
no,
Let's just be honest.
no, and I 100% agree. And I really wish they'd rework this system.
Could have been the Lions in there, dude. I
Could
don't
have,
know. Could
could
have
have.
been the Lions in there.
Yeah, I really wish they would rework this system. To where whoever wins the division automatically gets into the playoffs. I think it's I don't know. I part of me likes it because it makes the divisions mean something. Unlike, for example, the NBA, where the divisions
Hmm.
mean literally nothing.
That is true. Yeah.
Um, so part of me does like it, but at the same token, for with the NFL in comparison to let's say the NBA, NBA is an 82 game season, right? So you got games going on pretty much every other night.
Yeah.
NFL, we're talking once a week,
Yeah.
so it makes the matchups mean even more, right? Like they kind of mean even more every time a team does meet up. Um, and if there is that team that you're facing, twice a year, um, again, I feel like it means just that much extra at that point.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, I mean, again, Brady did not play well. For pretty much the entirety of the game.
Yeah. He
Um,
played really bad, to be honest.
yeah. I mean, he made a couple good throws here and there, but I mean, the biggest issue is they couldn't get the run game going, and it showed. Right, I think Brady had like 25 passing attempts. At the end of the first half. That's a lot of throws to be making.
Yeah. I
Um,
don't think they really tried to get the run game going, which is
which
really
has been
dumb.
yeah, and I feel like that's kind of been a big problem of theirs throughout the entire season. Is the running game hasn't been working for them, but they also haven't really fully tried. Like they'll run the ball like once or twice, and they're like, all right, time to go pass the ball 8 times in a row now. Like
Yep.
that's just
It's really, really dumb.
yeah, like that's just their logic. I don't get it. And what's interesting is I don't I've never seen a team. I was gonna say I don't think, but no, I've never seen a team miss 4 extra point attempts and still win a game.
Yeah, it's a weird one, huh?
Yeah, it was literally an NFL record, um, for missed extra points.
Yeah,
Um,
can't make that shit up, dude.
nah, you can't. And it's crazy because you and I talked about it. Like, he's been solid all year. I don't remember his first name. Mar. Is it Brett? I think it's Brett.
It's Brett, yeah.
He was solid all year. He was very consistent. And yeah, I don't know if I don't know, somebody like put a fan next to the goalpost or something. I
Yeah,
just
they
I
just
just I don't get it.
put some Vaseline on his shoes or something.
Yeah, right. Um, yeah, I don't get it, man. When you miss 4 extra point attempts, that's that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad.
Go practice or something, bro.
Yeah, yeah. Which I did see a report came out saying that they have no intentions of trying to go out and try to pick up somebody new or anything like that. Like they want to try to work with them and try to help improve his accuracy, I guess, at the end of
Yeah,
the day.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, Yeah, it was a very interesting way for the game to go down for sure. But
Oh,
I mean, let me ask you, man, Brady, what happens? Obviously, he had the press conference at the end, kind of thanking everybody, right? Like he thanked
mhm.
he thanked his teammates, thanked the organization, he even thanked the media, which I thought was interesting. Um,
Yeah, I mean, he
he
could just be thinking the Bucks media in in particular, you know.
yeah, true. Um, but yeah, I mean, what happens, man? I mean, like you listen to him during that press conference. I mean, kind of almost sounded like retirement. It's coming. Obviously, there's the rumors and the reports that he may go try to sign with the Niners. Might re-sign in Tampa for another year. Um, but there was a rumor floating around that he can go to New England. I saw a rumor that he may actually go to Vegas. Vegas was one of the teams that was rumored to be in the running for him when he first left New England.
Mhm.
And then that's where the infamous clip came to where he was on that show on HBO. I can't remember the name of it. Where he was talking about it and he was like, "Wow, you guys are you're gonna go with that fucking guy," and everybody thought it was Derek Carr that they were referring to, um,
Uh, yeah,
which I mean, hey, look how time travels, right?
true.
But yeah, so what happens, man? Like, what do you think happens to the goat? What does he end up doing?
Well, I think he's definitely leaving the Bucks. I don't think he'll play there again. Um, I feel like it'd be very silly for him to retire because I mean he just ruined his marriage over 1 year of football, which would be
That's
kind of dumb.
that's a fair point.
So I think he'll at least try to do another year somewhere.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's really tough to say. I think it's just gonna depend on the fit, and I think it's gonna depend a lot on like location as well. Because yeah, I don't think he's gonna go anywhere that's like considered a bad franchise. You know, I don't think that
no,
he'll do that. So
no.
as long as
Which
the yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say that was definitely like his original decision making too with signing with Tampa is that I think he saw the level of talent that was there in Tampa and kind of realized all they really needed was just a QB, and then it's full steam ahead, and obviously that's how it worked out, and they ended up going to the Super Bowl. But
Yep, no doubt.
um, but yeah, sorry, continue.
Um, yeah, I was just gonna say it's just I think he's gonna go somewhere bad in location as long as the fit is right. I could see him doing it. I don't think it'll be the Niners just because I don't think that they in particular will be interested. But you have to wonder after seeing his performance what teams actually will be interested. Because he played really bad. So
Sure,
it's gonna depend. I could see definitely. If I were to guess right now which team is most likely to for him to go to, I would personally say the Raiders just because Josh McDaniels is there as well. So
sure,
there's obviously a relationship there.
yeah,
But outside of that, um, I really don't know. It'd be very tough to just sort of like say for sure he's going here because again, he could just as easily retire. So it's gonna be exciting to see, and we'll get a bunch of those talks in the off season, and who knows? Who freaking knows? Hey, hell,
yeah.
maybe maybe Green Bay is actually the destination. They bounce Aaron Rodgers out of town, and then they get Brady in there. So who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah. I mean, even that in and of itself would be that'd be something. That'd be
Yep.
something. But um yeah, I don't know, man. I think there's a good chance you'll honestly I think there's a good chance you'll see him resign with the Bucks. I think if anything it's going to be either the Raiders, Bucks or retirement. I think it's going to be one of those three.
Okay.
If
Okay.
if if the I say the Raiders cuz obviously having a guy like Devontae Adams, Darren Waller, the Josh Jacobs, the talented pieces they have on offense as well as on defense, and then as you mentioned, again the Josh McDaniels, obviously you have a really good dynamic between those two. Um, in a division that looks like it may not actually be the toughest division like we thought.
Oh,
Um, so obviously there's that element to it. But then the other side of it as well is, you know, with Tampa, they have the pieces are there. I
for
think
sure.
their biggest struggle this year was one, cohesion, right? I think as a team, there didn't really seem to be a lot of chemistry, um, for a lot of them, especially on offense. We saw a lot of moments where Tom and Mike Evans they didn't really click throughout most of the season. Um, Obviously, you didn't have Godwin throughout a decent chunk of the season as well.
Yeah.
Tight end, some question marks there. And then your running game. Your running game was just so inconsistent all year long.
Hmm.
It was forcing Tom to throw the ball more. And when the defense is expecting, hey, he's just going to pass it every time, well, then, and obviously you're not going to be very successful. Um,
Right.
so a lot of question marks there. So it really, I think, comes down to what can Tampa Bay present to Tom. Um, and kind of promise to Tom to try to bring him back. But I feel like
Ice
he
cream.
likes just a big bowl of ice cream.
Ice cream.
Um, I mean, I feel like he likes Tampa. You know what I mean? Like warm weather. You're in Florida. Um, I feel like there's that part of it that he enjoys and probably doesn't want to leave. Um, I feel
He
like
definitely likes football. Um, so it's hard to see him like leaving, but
yeah.
um, yeah,
I think Vegas,
Tampa's a
like
good spot.
maybe, but I mean, even that. I mean, Vegas is obviously a whole nother animal, but I mean, the dude's gonna be 46 years old. I don't. I think his wild partying days of what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas kind of mindset. I feel like he might be past that at this point.
Yeah, it might be well
Um,
past it.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I don't think that element's exciting to him, um, but at the same token, hey, who knows? I don't know the guy personally, obviously.
that's
Um,
it. Yeah. Who
and
freaking knows?
but at the end of the day, I mean, Tom being the competitor that he is, you know, I mean, he's going to go where he feels is the best option,
Yep.
to win a championship. And that's Tom Brady. That's just
Yeah,
who he's always been. So,
for sure.
but it was an exciting weekend though. It was a lot of really good football, a lot of fun to watch.
Indeed.
I'm a little upset that the Cowboys Bucks game wasn't a little bit closer. That was actually the game I was probably looking forward to the most.
Yep.
And
Kind of sucks,
yeah,
but it is what it is.
exactly. Um, but I mean, hey, coming up this weekend, again, some big matchups, and we've already given our predictions. Which you guys can go back and check out. It's here on the YouTube channel. But um, hey, we're 6 for 6, man. Do we make it 10-0? Do we make it? Is our
Um,
run going to continue to be perfect?
I think it's looking good so far, to be
It
honest.
is. It
But
is looking good. It is looking good.
we'll have to see. I think there's definite potential for us
Yeah,
to go truly undefeated in our predictions here.
I agree.
I didn't put any money on it because we definitely would have been wrong then.
True. That is true. Yeah, I mean it's definitely interesting. Um, it'll be again. There's some fun matchups. Saturday's games. You got the Jags and Chiefs. The Eagles and Giants.
Yep.
Both games should be fun to watch. I feel like the Jags could do something similar to what they did against LA. I don't think they pull off that incredible comeback, but I think they can make the Chiefs maybe force some mistakes here and there, and
Yep.
potentially make a bit of a difference. Giants Eagles. I mean, hey, if I'm telling you now, dude, if Daniel Jones and Saquon both play the way they did against Minnesota, that's gonna be a nail biter of a game. There's no doubt. Um,
No doubt. But that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen.
there's always that side of it too. And obviously Sunday's games you got Cincinnati versus Buffalo, Dallas versus San Fran. I mean, again, the Cincinnati Buffalo matchup. I think it's going to come down to whoever makes the less mistakes. I mean, that's really really what it seems like it's going to be.
Mhm.
And dude, I would not be shocked if San Fran actually beats Dallas. I would not be surprised by that one bit.
Oh no, I mean they definitely can.
One bit. I know our prediction was that Dallas beats San Fran, but I mean, dude, with the offensive weapons that they have, I definitely feel like Brock Purdy, he might it might get a little rattled, especially when you got a guy like Micah Parsons coming at you.
Yep.
But I still think those offensive weapons do what they need to do. I think George Kittle still maintains a big part of the passing game. I think Debo and CMC obviously do their thing with both the run and the pass.
Yeah.
And then obviously defensively, man, they're no joke, right? Like that defense is tough, and so I think they caused Dak to have some issues. Dak got lucky on some throws against Tampa Bay. Um, there was definitely a lot of luck that went his way. Um, Otherwise, it could have potentially been a completely different game. But
Yeah. No doubt. Yeah. Dak definitely got away with some shit for sure.
yeah, but that's I mean, both of those Sunday matchups, like those are the two games I look at, and I'm like, they really could go either way. Especially after seeing, I mean, we were already saying that before, but especially after seeing how
Mhm.
everything went down, this past weekend. But hey, man, it should be fun. It should be fun. I'm
I
excited.
agree. Yeah.
I'm excited. Excited. You still feel confident though? You think we got our predictions right? You think we're gonna have that perfect run?
Uh, yeah. As of right now, I think we're looking pretty good.
Okay. All right. All right. I still feel pretty confident too. And I agree. If I put money on it, then you know, it would all be wrong, right? Like we'd be looking at like a Ravens Jaguars matchup right now. Like it would all just be completely different.
Yeah. True.
But should be fun though. Should be fun. But all right, man. Well, that's gonna do it for today's episode.
That's it.
As always, that's it, man.
Oh man.
That's it. Well, we
Okay.
say that's it, but that was an hour and a half. I mean, that was quite some time there. But as
Time
always,
is
man,
bullshit.
time is bullshit.
It's
I fucking agree there. But as always, man, it was fun. It was fun. Appreciate you being here.
yeah.
Do you have anything you want to say before we cut this thing off?
Um. Um. No.
All right. All right. We love that. Love that. Very, very, very wise.
Yes.
There's good wisdom there.
I agree. Actually.
It's, guys, that's gonna do it. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Follow us on all on the social platforms as well as right here on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe, get the bell on, that way you know when we post these. But hey, man, we love y'all. We appreciate y'all as always. Stay safe out there. Kind of one another, love one another. Adios. Peace out. Enjoy the games.
Yo. Yo.
Enjoy The Last of Us. And enjoy life, I guess. I don't know. Bye. Peace out.
Bye bye.